In the book of St. John, in the 12th chapter, the 3rd verse, we read the following as the basis of our message tonight. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. The subject that we're using tonight, let your hair down. Let your hair down. One lady called me this week and said, "Well, now, Reverend, suppose you don't have any hair to let down." I said, well, while in the first place, it doesn't literally mean hair. But if it did, if you didn't have any to let down, well, point it down, comb it down, or do something with it. The expression, let your hair down, in the lingo of the streets, as well as in common vernacular, means to let loose, let go, relax, get out of the straitjackets of life. This is the literal meaning when you hear people use that expression. When they say, let your hair down, that means come out of the knot and the shell that you're in and be yourself. That's what they're talking about. But we would like to point out tonight that Mary let her hair down in quite a different way. And we would do well to emulate her example. We can let our hair down in the manner that she let her hair down. Now, to begin with, a feast of the Passover was going on in Jerusalem. Jerusalem was spectacular and colorful. Migrants and immigrants from all over the Greco-Roman world were there, particularly Jews or Hebrew people were there from all over the Greco-Roman world in attendance to the feast and to pay their homage and tributes to the temple and to their native home, as well as to observe the feast. Rumors and inquiries were floating around concerning Jesus of Nazareth, for the authorities by this time had made him an outlaw, and a warrant was already out for his arrest. The rumors and inquiries were, will he come to the feast? Would he dare come here knowing that the authorities are looking for him. And he would naturally be arrested upon sight. Would he dare come? But as strange as it may seem, strange that is, looking at it from our own personal vantage points, he did dare come. For you see, you can't dare Jesus. You can't dare him out of anybody's home, out of any place. He'll visit with a publican. He will drink with sinners. He will associate with harlots. He will go into the home of a tax collector. You can't dare him. So he dared to go to the feast. I don't believe you're praying with me tonight. Pray with me now. Now, pray with me. I don't want you. You said don't say come on up now. I'm up now, right now. You know, listen. He was at the feast. He was there. Now there's some speculation as to where this feast or in whose home the feast took place. There are some who speculate that it was in the home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. Then there are others who speculate that possibly the home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus was too small, and it was at the home of Simon the leper. This is not specified. But be that as it may, it seems that as Jesus sat at the table at the feast, Lazarus was on one side, whom he had raised from the dead, and Simon the leper was on the other side, whom he had cleansed of leprosy. They were like trophies of his power and his love. I don't believe you hear me. And of course, as the evening wore on, we look at the crowd that had come in. There were some who'd come over to Bethany from Jerusalem. There were some who had come in from the community. That was the crowd. Then there was Judas, who represented altogether another thing in the crowd, along with the disciples. Then there was Mary, and there was Martha. You know. Now, let's look at these people. There are people in all crowds are just there for the sake of being in the crowd. There's some folk in this crowd here tonight have no real basic purpose for being here. They're not really here to hear the gospel. And when they hear it, it doesn't mean anything to them. They're just in the crowd. Just in the crowd. But then there was Martha, who was serving manually, who was the particular industrious woman who served Jesus with her hands and through her physical service. And that is an important way to serve God. Maybe you can't sing. Maybe you're not the kind of a person who move people with your prayers. Maybe the only thing you can do is to serve God with your hands. To go in the kitchen and make things pleasant and comfortable and satisfying. Because sometimes privately you can serve God as well as you can on a public stage. I wish I had somebody here to pray with me. But then there was Judas and the disciples that we'll get to in a minute. Also there was Mary. Possibly this incident never would have been reported. Never would have had a place in biblical history if Mary had not done a certain thing. In that crowd, she looked upon Jesus, and somehow it seemed that in a very deep way she contemplated that he was nearing his end, nearing the end of his life. And she had a box of very precious ointment, highly scented with an expensive perfume. She had a whole box. She went and got that box, and Matthew said that first she anointed Jesus' head. And you know, to anoint one's head was honorable because kings were anointed upon their heads. The psalmist said, he anoints my head with oil. But then Mary did better than that. She didn't stop with his head. She anointed his feet. She positioned herself low enough to get around his feet. You don't hear me. The only time that the Bible or the Gospels have mentioned Mary, they have mentioned her usually at the feet of Jesus. Each time that she's spoken of at his feet. One time was that when Martha complained that she was doing the whole physical job, and Mary was sitting listening at the words of Jesus as they dropped like precious pearls from his lips. Jesus said, let her alone. She has chosen the good part. You don't hear me. So here she anoints his feet. But then when she anointed his feet, the crowd became cognizant of the fact that this was an expensive thing that she had given Jesus. Judas led the crowd in a public expression of envy. Judas said waste? Why would this woman waste up all of this costly ointment? Waste up this expensive perfume, putting it on Jesus' feet. Something more important could have been done with this precious ointment. It could have been sold for $50 or more, and the money could have been given to the poor. But the Bible reports at this point that Judas was not really interested in the poor. He was motivated by his own envy, his own jealousy. You don't hear me. Isn't it amazing that the people who are closest to you are more likely to be the first to become envious of the honor of other people when they bestow it upon you? You don't hear me. You've got to note here that Judas was one of the apostles. Judas was one of the 12 disciples. Judas was equivalent to a deacon to Jesus. They were more familiar with all of the good things that Jesus had done. You don't hear me. They saw him feed the hungry. They saw him open the eyes of the blind. They saw him cleanse the lepers. They saw him heal the sick. They saw him raise the dead. It would seem that they would be the first to say, Mary, you have done a great thing. You can't do too much to honor this man. I wish I had somebody here praying with me. I'm feeling a little better. What I'm saying is that when Judas led out in jealousy, then the other disciples joined. You know, you never have much trouble getting people to join you when you are doing something wrong. You have a little problem getting people to join you when you're doing constructive things, progressive things, but you have a little trouble, you know, when you try to get them to join you in the good work. But if you are doing that which is negative, you usually have no problem. You usually have no problem. You can always get a follower. So that Judas had no trouble. And the other disciples joined him. And I don't know, I think that whatever you do for the Lord, you ought to be able to evaluate it yourself. You know, that great many people are ashamed to publicly demonstrate their love for God. And there are people who are chagrin or hesitant. Why? To let other people know that they love and respect their pastor. They are afraid that other people will criticize them. Oh, Lord. And Mary, my Lord, defied their criticism. Mary went on and did the good work. She gave the Lord her best. You don't hear me? She let her hair down by giving him the most important thing she had. Oh, Lord. She didn't rummage around and look for something that she didn't need. She didn't look over her dollars and give him a few of the silver coins. No, no. She gave the Lord the best she had. You don't hear me? Oh, Lord. She gave him the whole box of ointment. She busted it and poured it on his head. And she lowered herself down to his feet and anointed his feet. Oh, Lord. She let her hair down, and took her locks, the waves of her hair, and wiped his feet. She used her hair as if it were a towel in wiping her feet. I'm trying to tell you, she let her hair down. Oh, Lord. What I'm going to say to you tonight, as I come to my close, you ought to let your hair down for the Lord. Oh, Lord. You ought to get out of that shell of indifference. You ought to get out of that shell of fear. You ought to get out of that shell, whatever it is, and let yourself go for the Lord. You don't hear me? Oh, Lord. If it's in a song, let yourself go. If it's in a prayer, let yourself go. If it's serving the community, let yourself go. If it's giving, you ought to let yourself go. Oh, Lord, if you're working in a sick room, you ought to let yourself go. Oh, Lord, let your hand. His hair down on Calvary for me. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. The Lord bless. Let your hair down for the Lord. He has already let his hair down for you, to the point of permitting thorns and blood to be mingled with his hair. That's right. When he let his hair down for you.